And the Guardian actually specifically brings up another name that I think anyone in the bioweapon awareness field is well aware of. His name is Ron Fouchier.
Fouchier
of Erasmus Medical Center.
Now, this is the guy from Netherlands. Right?
Yes.
All right, so this is the guy I was telling Edward and Doc about today in my office, because he's a Dutch researcher, and back in, I want to say, it was the early 2000s, 2005, 2010, 14. He was in the news a lot because he published his formula to reconstruct a deadly virus.
Right. And
he published it online.
Yes.
And this actually was in 2012. He published this. 2012, and it's in the Guardian article. It says that he published studies on mutant bird flu, and it was basically the recreation of these mutant strains which had caused and been involved in pandemics. He was criticized for this. Even there's someone as far as to say that what he has done may have actually put in the hands of this recipe in the hands of bioterrorists.
I did a lot of True News programs back then about this guy, because there were responsible scientists saying, no, please stop him. This is irresponsible science to publish research on a virus, to let the whole world read it. This is wrong. It's irresponsible. It's dangerous. But Mr. Fouchier prevailed, and he published his research, which any researcher in a country that considered the United States or Western Europe to be an enemy, they had access to his research.
It was open source bioweapon research.
It was like putting your favorite cake recipe on the internet. That's what he did with the virus.
Yes.
His favorite virus recipe.
And his recipe actually had arsenic in it.
But why would he do it? Why would any responsible scientist do something like that? He was determined to do it. And there was quite an effort in 2012 to stop him, to prevent him, but he prevailed. It's like they want the information out there. They want it to happen.
And there were people that actually made the virus strains, Rick.
Yes.
There were people that there were nation states that actually made the virus strains that Dr. Fouchier put the recipe out online for.
And we know this term because for the coverage we've done here on the pandemic, they were working on gain of function studies. Government paid for gain of function.
All right, you might want to review with people what that means.
What this means is you take an existing virus, you manipulate it,
Yes.
you add other strains to it, you make it more deadly. That's what it means.
They also talked about dual use.
Dual use, that's right.
The virus could have a good purpose, it could have a negative, bad purpose.
All right, we're going to have to walk me through this one, because I don't understand how a deadly pandemic virus can have a good use, Rick. What's the good use for?
I don't know, but that was the terms that they used.
And what the government said about this?
Purpose research.
Yes, for using both for weaponization, maybe for the antidotes, but also now for the actual, I guess, the research of the pandemic itself to learn after the fact how bad it was. The government, because of this man's research, they claim to have actually revised the guidelines for this dual-use research. They said that work can only be funded if the potential benefits are substantial and the risk considered to be manageable. Well, judging by what we've seen with this coronavirus and other deaths related to this, was it really manageable? It came into the country and it spread.
Yes.
So this Dr. Fouchier put the recipe out online for the creation of a mutant form of the H5N1 virus. And there were people that actually made it. What is his connection with COVID-19?
Okay, this gets really interesting now. So there's a great website called Great Game India. If you're not acquainted with it, I recommend that you read them a couple times a month, because they have excellent research. We'll put up number 19. This is Great Game India. How Ron Fouchier created a mutant H5N1 virus. Now, we don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this, but it's the next one, number 20. Ron Fouchier, another key to COVID-19 investigation. Now this gets interesting. The same guy shows up in the coronavirus story. And he's connected to a Canadian laboratory and a dead scientist. It's real messy now.
Rick, and you have to wonder if this man is less of a scientist and more of a spy, because the very intricate spy novel of his story started actually with him reportedly smuggling, a SARS sample from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, back when the SARS broke out in Saudi Arabia, he stole a sample of SARS and removed it from Saudi Arabia without knowledge or permission of the Saudi Arabian government.
And this isn't just a paperclip. You're stealing a weapon of mass destruction, potentially, a viral strain which can be used to create a weapon. He took it and went right back to his work at the same university we mentioned in the Netherlands, Erasmus Medical Center. Well, in addition to this, there was the lab you're talking about, the microbiology lab in Canada. It's their biosafety level 4 lab. It's their version of Fort Detrick, their version of a weapons lab. This was the same lab that 2 Chinese scientists were caught sending samples to Wuhan, because that's how Wuhan ties in
coronavirus.
Of coronavirus and other deadly viruses being studied here.
But it was Ron Fouchier who sent coronavirus to the Canadian lab to a scientist named Frank Plummer, and who shortly after a report by Great Game India, Mr. Plummer woke up one morning dead. Just days after the report came out.
Right.
That linked him to Ron Fouchier and the Chinese and coronavirus.
So it was chemically Khashoggi'd? You have to wonder here, is the name, no one knew this name prior to the report. It comes up, ties him to an infamous bioweapons researcher, and he's dead. You'd think that this would warrant a national investigation. This isn't a small lab. This is Canada's version of Fort Detrick.
Rick, if I could share an image on the screen here. Once again, these names come together on a regular basis. I asked Control to pull an image up for me, if we could, from that Great Game India article. And I don't know if they've got it ready or not. And so, but I'll stall for just a second and see if they've got it yet. But we have an image of Dr. Fouchier and Dr. Fauci together at a conference where he's making the presentation.
Well, shut my mouth. You've got it.
I don't know if they've got it ready yet or not. So there we go. So this is at the AMS Biodefense Conference in 2012. And right there on the screen there at the outer edge, you see Dr. Fouchier.
That's on the left.
Mm-hmm. And then second from the right, that's our good buddy, Dr. Fauci. And that is at the Biodefense AMS Weaponized Biodefense Conference in 2012. So you see the same names, same players popping up all the time.
I wonder that I had not seen that photograph. That's fascinating. I'm reading from this Great Game India report. It says, like Fouchier and the Chinese agent Charles Lieber, who created virus transmitters, Plummer, this is talking about the scientist who was found dead, Plummer was the key to the COVID-19 investigation and coincidentally ended up dead a week after the publication of our report.
Right.
The jury is still out on whether the results of such dual-use research of concern studies should be made public or not. Although the moot question is it a coincidence that the way, now listen to this, is it a coincidence that the way the Saudi SARS coronavirus was smuggled out of Saudi Arabia in an exact similar fashion, the virus was also smuggled out by Chinese spies from the Canadian lab to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which is now under investigation for the COVID-19 outbreak. That's the same lab that Fauci sent millions of dollars from the NIH.
Yes.
The same lab. And we still saw a photograph of Fauci sitting there with Fouchier.
Yes. I mean, these guys are the
Why
Tom
isn't
and Jerry of bioweapons.
Fauci should be taken to Guantanamo Bay and waterboarded. I'm serious. That man is involved in a lot of evil, and he gets away with it. He's been doing it for decades. Tightly connected to Bill Gates. He connected to Bill Gates' father, who was a leader of Planned Parenthood. But he gets away with it because he's part of the deep state.
And Rick, do you just get the sense that no one seems really that concerned that these viruses can walk right out of a lab?
You know, there's no outrage.
Cares. No one says
There's no
we ought to
outrage.
shut that lab down. No one ever says that. And there's no anger. There's no and coincidence. Come on, I don't believe in coincidence.
Back in 2005, 2010, and 12, when these stories were coming out, I was shouting it as loud as I could. Does anybody realize there's going to be a global pandemic? Perhaps hundreds of millions are going to die. Somebody must stop these scientists. But there was no outcry. Now we have the pandemic, and there's still no outcry. The only outcry is wear masks, social distancing. And you got Fauci.
Unless you're protesting.
And you're getting your advice from Fauci, of all people, the man who knows how the virus was released, who knows how the virus was reconstructed. You're taking advice from the man who knows how the crime was committed. Just think about that. The nation is getting its health advice from the man who knows the criminal story about how the virus was reconstructed.
Yes.
Because his hands are dirty. I don't know how deeply involved he was in the creation of that virus, but he knows something, and nobody's questioning him.
And he was willing to sit on a panel with the man who had just released his studies detailing an avian virus, one which experts at the time, I'm sure politically non-biased, said could be used, re-engineered by bioterrorists to create something that could actually kill people in a terror attack.
By the way, Rick, I don't know if you read the story or not, but Dr. Anthony Fauci is being considered as a contestant. I'm not making this up. You can't make this up in this world today. As a contestant on the upcoming season of Dancing with the Stars. I wish I was making it up. That's how stupid this world is right now, Rick.
They're making him a hero.
Yeah.
Not a hero. I believe he potentially has criminal complicity with the release of this virus. And he should be questioned, severely questioned. The truth should come out. But it's part of a bigger plan that involves global vaccinations, global immunity passports. It's a bigger plan, global rules.